What can $15,000 really do? Buy a used car? Cover a semester of college? Maybe pay rent for a few months in a big city? Now imagine using that same $15,000 to plant the seed for a company that would eventually be worth billions and make history along the way. That's exactly what Robert L. Johnson did. From a modest loan and a big dream, he built Black Entertainment Television, better known as BET, the first cable television network aimed squarely at African American audiences. But it wasn't just a business move. It was a cultural shift, one that reshaped media, created wealth for dozens of Black creatives and professionals, and turned Johnson into America's first Black billionaire. After finishing undergrad, Johnson pursued a master's degree in public affairs from the prestigious Princeton University, which he completed in 1972. Now, here's where things get interesting. Working in the political world and rubbing shoulders with decision-makers in media gave Johnson an inside view of how the television industry operated. One particular moment changed everything. A chance meeting that led to a job at the National Cable Television Association, NCTA. At the NCTA, Johnson became a lobbyist and got an intimate view of the rapidly growing cable industry. But more importantly, he got access to a network of cable executives and entrepreneurs. These relationships would prove invaluable later. One of those connections was with John Malone, a powerful cable executive and the CEO of Telecommunications Inc. Malone, known for backing big, bold ideas, told Johnson that if he ever had a game-changing concept, he should bring it straight to him. If magazines could speak to Black readers, why couldn't cable television speak to Black viewers? That question was the spark. In 1979, Johnson left his secure job at the NCTA and set out to launch Black Entertainment Television, BET. Cable television was still an experimental frontier, with few networks and even fewer minority voices. Malone bought 20% of the company for $120,000 and loaned Johnson the other $380,000 to get BET off the ground. But he did something else too. He made Johnson the majority owner, holding 80% of the business. Why? Because he believed Johnson would work harder if he owned most of it. That trust proved prophetic. In 1980, BET launched with just 2 hours of programming a week. It aired on the Madison Square Garden Sports Network, which would later become the USA Network. The content, a mix of music videos and reruns of popular Black sitcoms. The logo, designed by Cheryl Miller, featured a star to symbolize Black excellence and star power. It was a modest start, but it was also a first. And that made all the difference. The launch may have seemed small, but for many Black households, it felt like a door was finally opening. For the first time, there was a network where the faces, voices, and stories looked and sounded familiar. It wasn't about flashy production or high-end budgets. It was about representation. Artists who had long been overlooked by mainstream platforms suddenly had a stage. And for viewers, even just 2 hours a week meant something powerful. Visibility. Cheryl Miller's logo, with its bold star, became more than just branding. It became a symbol of pride. The early programming choices were strategic. Music, comedy, and community-focused content that resonated immediately. Within months, word began to spread and viewership quietly grew. Those 2 hours a week were just the beginning of something much bigger than anyone imagined at the time. By 1983, BET had become an independent channel. 2 years later, in 1985, it finally turned a profit. With growth came more original content. In 1988, the network launched BET News, with Ed Gordon as anchor. Gordon would go on to host powerful programs like Conversations with Ed Gordon. Other hits included Video Soul with Donnie Simpson, Rap City, and Video LP with Sherry Carter. These shows didn't just entertain, they elevated Black music, culture, and conversation to a national stage. In 1991, BET made history again, becoming the first African-American-owned company listed on the New York Stock Exchange. It was a milestone, not just for the Johnsons, but for the black business community across the country. BET was no longer a niche operation, it was a cultural institution. As the 90s progressed, Johnson started thinking bigger. In 1998, he and Liberty Media bought back all outstanding shares of the company, giving him a 42% stake. This move set the stage for what would become a billion-dollar deal. Around the same time, media giants like AOL and Time Warner were merging, pushing media valuations to new heights. Johnson recognized that the timing was perfect. If there was ever a moment to sell, this was it. In 2001, Viacom purchased BET for a reported $3 billion. Johnson's personal payout exceeded $1 billion, making him the richest African American in the United States and officially the country's first black billionaire. John Malone's original $400,000 investment had ballooned to approximately $760 million. For both men, the deal was a resounding success. But for Johnson, it was more than just a business win. It was the culmination of a vision that many thought was too ambitious to succeed. After the sale, Johnson remained at BET's helm until 2006. When he stepped down, the reins were passed to Deborah Lee, a longtime BET executive. With BET firmly established as a media powerhouse, Johnson turned his attention to a new venture, the RLJ companies. This wasn't just one company, it was a holding company with investments across real estate, financial services, private equity, automobile dealerships, film production, hospitality, and even gaming. Among his boldest moves was becoming the first African-American majority owner of a major US sports franchise, the Charlotte Bobcats, an NBA expansion team in 2006. Johnson also co-founded Our Stories Films with Harvey Weinstein, aiming to produce family-friendly films for black audiences. Their 2011 romantic comedy, Jumping the Broom, was a box office success. But Johnson didn't stop at business. He took a keen interest in politics and international development. In 2007, he organized a delegation of African-American business leaders to visit Liberia, which led to the creation of the Liberia Enterprise Development Fund. He even called on African Americans in the US to support Liberia in the way the Jewish community supported Israel, drawing both admiration and criticism for the comparison. Controversially, during the 2008 Democratic primaries, Johnson publicly criticized Barack Obama and endorsed Hillary Clinton, a move that drew sharp reactions from many in the African American community. Still, he remained a respected figure in business and philanthropy, using his wealth and influence to advocate for increased economic opportunities for Black Americans. Johnson often reflected on what BET represented. Beyond the billions, beyond the media empire, he pointed to something deeper. BET created more African American multi-millionaires than any other company in history at the time. It was a launching pad for executives, artists, producers, and countless behind-the-scenes professionals who might never have had a platform otherwise. To him, that was the true legacy. Even today, BET continues to operate as a leading network focused on African American entertainment, culture, and news. Its impact is still being felt on television, in music, and across the entire media landscape. Looking back, that original $15,000 loan seems almost symbolic. It wasn't just a check. It was a statement of belief in potential, in vision, in the idea that African American audiences deserve more than a seat at the table. They deserve their own table. Robert L. Johnson didn't just build a company. He built a bridge, connecting black talent with opportunity and creating a path that others could follow. He proved that being first doesn't mean being the only. It means paving the way for many more to come. And in doing so, he didn't just make history. He changed the game. If this story inspired you, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more deep dives into the journeys of groundbreaking entrepreneurs and industry legends. Hit the bell icon so you'll never miss a story that could spark your next big idea.